Hello and welcome to Persuasive Language. Let's go through this together and give you an idea of what this actually means. So persuasive language is used in political speeches, in leaflets, in advertising, and also in writing essays. And it can also be used in debates. The art of using words to persuade is called rhetoric. The methods used in rhetoric are called rhetorical devices. Let's have a look at these one by one. So first of all, rhetorical devices include the anticlimax. Often ridicules, they established committees conducted in-depth research and then did absolutely nothing. Climax. A climax builds up to the most important point. For example, smoking gives you bad breath, wastes your money, and seriously damages your health. So you can see here that we're using our opinions to persuade people. Contrast, on the other hand, leave the dark night of slavery for the new dawn of freedom. In other words, this contrast, they're trying to show you how bad slavery was, and let's look for freedom because slavery was the dark, bad days. You can also use emotive language in persuasive language as well. So the road will rip off flowery meadows and leave a jagged scar. So in other words, your emotions are telling you that if you were to create a road in between a beautiful countryside, that's going to destroy the meadows and leave a scar on the countryside. You can also use the technique of exaggeration when using persuasive language, such as, my phone hasn't stopped ringing. So that just shows you that there's a bit of exaggeration going on. So exaggeration is another technique used in persuasive language, including the audience. So we don't want drug dealers outside our schools. So you can create and use characters and people in your persuasive language to try and persuade people. What about irony, for example? So saying the opposite of what is actually meant, that's the meaning of irony. In ridicule, so for example, I'm sure the fox appreciates that hunting is a noble tradition. So you're being sarcastic here, and you're actually using the opposite of what you're supposed to be saying, in the sense that, hunting foxes is bad, and I'm sure that foxes appreciate that hunting is a noble tradition. So you're being sarcastic and you're using some sort of irony here. You can also use quotations to add authority. So for example, when you use statistics or factual information, that gives a lot of weight to persuasive language and persuasive writing. You can repeat yourself and you can use repetition, often used in threes. So for example, say no to crime, no to violence, and no to injustice. It really stands out when the reader is trying to read your persuasive language. Rhetorical questions is a question when you ask the reader, but you do not expect an answer. All you're doing is planting a seed in their mind for them to think. So has the world gone mad? So you don't expect an answer, but you're just putting that seed in the mind of the reader. Understatement. So this is another technique used in persuasive language. So for example, starting a nuclear war by accident might prove embarrassing. So these are all rhetorical type of devices that you use in persuasive language to make your persuasive language seem much stronger than it probably is right now. So please do remember these rhetorical devices in order and use these next time, in fact, when you're using persuasive language. So let's go to this particular section 3. See how Martin Luther King used some of these in 1963. Let's have a look at some of these quotations. Martin Luther King was around in 1950s and 60s and 70s, 1950s and 60s, in fact. And he was actually a father of the American nation, whereby he was fighting for civil rights for Black people in America. So he was fighting for equal rights for all Black people in America in the 60s. So I say to you today, my friends, that despite the difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I have still a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. A quotation from Martin Luther King. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. Let's have a look at the quotation in detail. So we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. So the repetition says that I have a dream. So he's repeating himself, that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of the former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to do. There's also contrast here as well in these quotations. Sit down together at a table of brotherhood, basically meaning that we're all brothers, no matter whether we're black or white or any other color for that matter. I have a dream that one day, even that state of Mississippi, a desert state sweltering with the heat of injustice and oppression. So here we see contrast and exaggeration, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice, because Mississippi, one of the southern states of America, was one of the last places in America which actually gave Black people their freedom. So remember that rhetorical devices persuade by the arrangement of words and by saying things that are not meant to be literally true, but they can also be used in terms of forming a debate or using these in essays, leaflets, in types of advertising or political speeches to get your particular opinion across to the reader. Have a read of this again one more time and answer the following questions, and we'll follow these up and review these in our next lesson. Good luck.